Welcome back to our podcast. It's been a while, Mama Lynn.
Yes, it's my name now.
In today's episode, we shall discuss about
Vulnerability. Okay, so why vulnerability? I saw your podcast with ARRIFIN. First thought is, oh my God, I'm like here 99% of the time, and you have an awesome guest, and I'm not there. So it's like, what a missed opportunity. Like, I wished I was here. I watched the podcast and I could feel it, I was so happy when I heard his podcast. I think it's very hard to get people to share about their lives. People are usually very guarded.
Yeah.
The first things that I saw were the snippets that you released. And then when I sat down and listened to the edited, the whole podcast, I was so impressed. I was impressed by him because by the vulnerability that he showed. When you identified the snippets, of course you picked out the juicy parts, right? But when I watched it, it was one after another. And I don't know whether I should say this, but in addition to that, I mean, because he was a man. Like maybe, being vulnerable.
What are you trying to say? He is a man.
No, because it's...
Arifin, relax bro. Relax. I got this.
Being vulnerable is difficult for both genders. But I would assume it'd be more difficult for men because men have ego and they want to preserve this ego. And to preserve this ego is to allow people to have a certain perception of you. Right? So you don't want to be deemed as weak. Right? Because the man is, like the protector, the... What's it that? Right? The person, the very stable, stoic, they are male characteristics basically.
Okay.
So the fact that he was able to be vulnerable and he was not embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Well, what a secure man. I mean, he has done a lot of work, or his parents had done a lot of work to groom this extremely secure man.
Are you going to expose my vulnerabilities?
I don't even need to do that. You already done it. Everybody knows last time tak solat semua. Solat cuma nak kena dibangunkan. So today you had that sharing session. You said that reason why a lot of people struggle with making TikTok videos is because they are afraid to be vulnerable because they want to present a very polished version of themselves. And when you do that, of course, you tend to overthink. You will look at it again, this person would comment this. And then you look at it again. And each time you look at it, you could imagine the things that people would say. For example, Arifin's video, I looked at it and I was like, wow, this is like such a superb piece of, I don't know what you call it, the quality in terms of the learning lessons from it. Yet, we got the two hate comments about it. You can put like the most positive, I don't know, people can still like milk whatever hate that they can for that particular video. So to put yourself forward, especially in social media, is to, in a way, invite hate for yourself.
Yeah, on that note, probably is a good time to highlight the other guest that we had the other day with ADEE SALLEH. And then as much as, there were a lot of people who positively responded to the video. It's very inspiring. At your age, you have accomplished so much and so much. At the same time, there was another spectrum who people who just were not happy with her.
Yes, it didn't even cross my mind to share such a vulnerable story about yourself, to put yourself out there.
I felt
it takes a lot of courage.
I felt that ADEE was displaying that, guys, it's possible with hard work and determination, you can achieve this. If I can do it, you can do it too. Hopefully, I'm an inspiration for you.
Yes.
And of course, everybody will be different. If I can clear the air and help her clear the air. In the nurses community, it's not true what she portrayed about nurses earning so much income. Is not true. Everything is false. It's not a true portrayal of who nurses are. You look at it from a school point of view. When you say, a teacher earns a lot, it depends. Are you talking from a HOD point of view? Vice principal point of view? Or are you talking about the normal teacher or the part-time, the adjunct teacher? Every organization have multiple levels, different levels. Different education would naturally dictate a different salary scale.
Right.
And obviously as nurses, you also have a different hierarchy. Right? Whether you are slightly the top or the middle or a little bit the entry level, the foot soldier. So every organization is different. How do you actually portray, this is the correct portrayal of who nurses are? No what? Different people, different qualification. So what do you expect?
Two things come to mind. This is a big theme in my life right now. Huge weakness for me. I'm being vulnerable here. Is the whole idea of husnuzon. Husnuzon is
Having good thoughts?
having good thoughts about a person, giving the person 1,000 positive excuse for that person, to think the best of a person. So I felt that conversation was taken out of context. There was a lot of things being said, even in that very short clip. She did say that nurses are paid well, but she also mentioned about how she handled her money.
The discipline aspect,
Correct.
which majority of people can't do, and that was more important.
Correct, that's right. I felt that the point there was people missed the point. Firstly, I was thinking, okay, that is a snippet from a whole podcast.
And they didn't even watch the whole podcast. That's the funny part.
That's on one level. And on the other level is, okay, even so, in that short clip, that one thing was singled out. And there was so much value.
And for those of you who are listening to this, and probably you're listening to this podcast on my YouTube channel, just search for Hakim Halim Realtor. Listen to the podcast with ADEE SALLEH. Very, very inspiring.
Even with the best of intention, people sometimes misconstrue the main message.
Normal lah. Normal.
It's normal, but we cannot avoid the fact that it's difficult.
The one sitting on the hot seat, then of course it's going to be very challenging. Arrows are being shot at you.
Yes, I understand how she must be feeling. The easy thing to do, no, I don't want to do this anymore. It's the easy thing to do, right?
Oh, I thought you said you didn't want to do this anymore.
I'm still here. The easy thing to do is to, I don't want to put myself forward lah. There's so many rich stories from all your podcast guests. I've learned so much from everyone. I feel that the value outweighs the amount of damage. It is important to develop this. The famous writer who writes about this is Brene Brown lah.
Totally not my domain, okay?
Anyway, she has a very famous TED Talk about this. She talks a lot about courage. Vulnerability is linked to another aspect, which is authenticity. We're not perfect, right? We're humans, right? If we want to be authentic, we have to show our vulnerable side. When we do that, we inspire human connections, which was exactly how I felt when you invite guests over and I just listen to them. They're not interacting to me, but I gain insights from your conversations with them.
It's a very good point that you mentioned. Actually, it's about listening and learning from each other's imperfect stories.
When I heard Arrifin's story about him in school, I was so inspired because he touched a point, like a sore point, which is say in my life, my insecurity about my grades growing up. And we will never know, when our stories kind of like touch.
Impact other people.
Correct. In a positive way. Wow, that value is too much lah.
Yes, and on that note, if you're still wondering and have not listened to Arrifin's podcast, please go and listen to Arrifin's podcast on Hakim Halim YouTube channel or Spotify.
This podcast got a lot of advertisement.
Macam aku selit lah. But that Rizdian guy dia makin macam-macam dia. Macam dia punya podcast je. But I love him. I like the energy between me and him. The chemistry and the energy, I love.
I agree.
Yeah, and what I realized the last time he came here, I like the fact that as a real estate agent, he was sharing stories about cases. And different agents will clock in different kind of cases, and therefore different kind of rich stories. I think these kind of stories are the ones that I realized that, hey, you know what? The more we get stories from multiple agents, and the more the consumer and listeners out there can benefit from these stories.
Yes. And of course, I feel that you have a huge amanah.
What?
As the bearer of these stories, because when you collect these stories, how you present them, isn't it?
And you present what?
Yeah, precisely. But you present in a way. You present them in terms of your questioning, you know, in terms of the way they are portrayed also in a certain way, although they are the ones who do the speaking.
Yeah.
You know.
Very interesting. One of the comments in the previous one said that, why do you interview this person? Like, my podcast I like lah who I interview. You want to interview, you make your own podcast lah. Apa saja je.
I agree. Yeah.
Sometimes people who are saying don't like, then don't watch lah.
It's like, you don't even have to answer. Other people will answer on your behalf.
Kelakar. Really kelakar. And then my favourite. Your favourite also, is it?
Which one? Is it?
The haram one.
Suddenly
Suddenly got haram.
First part of the comment was, look at Hakim pretending to care about this story.
Hakim pretending. He pretend to care. Act only, but does he don't care?
Well, all he cares is about accumulating wealth, which is haram.
And then which is haram. Wealth is haram. This is new to me. And my brother was telling me after reading this, to say haram is haram.
To drop the hukum.
For you to pass a judgment to say that this is haram is haram. Thank you for the entertainment value. Awesome. These are the things I cannot sleep at night. I read, then I laugh, then I fall asleep.
Yeah, okay, you laugh.
Huh?
You laugh, but you know, not everybody can laugh at these things. I mean, I can imagine. Okay, you know, there was this video that we were discussing polygamy. Okay, that one, the whole podcast is not out on YouTube, right? And then I made a comment like, to be in a polygamous relationship, to marry more than one, the men have to like have $10,000 for salary. This was told to me lah. So I was in our conversation. I said, oh yeah. And then you took that snippet and, you know, put it on TikTok. And then there were people who were like, Raffles Quran to look for 10,000. You know, like, okay, I wouldn't say I lose sleep, but I was definitely that part of me that macam, aku salah and macam, aku bodoh. That kind of,
is the one that in order to marry a second one, there is a minimum income requirement.
Yes.
Minimum floor, not ceiling, floor income.
Yeah.
10K.
So, of course, that 10K was like that amount was because somebody told me lah. It wasn't. I mean, you can fact check me. I don't know. I tak pernah be in that situation lah. That I need to really check how much the amount.
Because
is.
I can imagine the audience suddenly went to MUIS website on that day. MUIS had a search in terms of the
Correct.
search. Like, where is this minimum guideline?
So I'm just citing that because that was a vulnerable moment for me. That was a moment like, okay, for you, like, like entertainment value before you sleep. For me, it's like a lot of questioning.
Did I say wrongly?
Did I say wrongly?
What if I say wrongly?
How?
How?
Who is going to
Later
catch
people
me?
get second wife accidentally. How?
Not because of that, but more like, oh my God, I look so stupid.
No need lah.
Correct.
To think so stupid.
Okay, yeah, you don't care. I care that people think I'm stupid or clever. But that's just it, you know. Like, I wanted to say something that slipped off my mind. To be vulnerable and authentic and to make this kind of like mistakes, you know, and to be okay with it takes practice.
Don't worry, we will clock in more.
Because my first thought is, okay, I don't think I should ever appear. Like, everything I say also wrong. That first mind, want to escape. Don't want to do anymore. Don't want to put myself in that vulnerable position. You know, then of course I have to like reframe, you know, think about it. No, it's okay. It's okay. This is just like a little bit, you know. And okay, if that was really an honest mistake. Okay lah.
Then 20,000 good lah. Lesser people marry too.
Okay lah.
Suddenly when you say about the 10,000, like, it triggered something in my head, you know.
What is it?
10,000 last time represents something. I'm not sure whether it's the same market rate.
Okay.
10,000.
What?
Duit.
Duit apa?
Hantaran.
Hantaran. Dia hantu. What's hantu? Hantaran, right?
Hantaran lah.
10,000.
Last time I was like against this altogether. Mana boleh? Orang tak mampu pun duit hantaran 10,000. Wayang je. You know, you hear a lot of stories. Suddenly, in front of people, duit hantaran is 10,000, but actually no money was exchanged. Or put a big check, $10,000 on a, but actually it's nothing for wayang only. But I just find that from a culture point of view, it's very...
I know you were very against it, right? I mean, you had a very strong opinion about it lah. That's what I can say. Yeah, it was a very hot topic. Is it still a hot topic now?
I do not know, and I don't know whether it's the same amount.
Yeah,
it could be higher today due to inflation and COVID.
I was about to say the exact same thing.
Right now could be 12, 15, but of course there are two sides of the coin. I understand the portion that some people may argue. Look, if you don't have this kind of amount, then are you ready for marriage?
Correct.
Are you ready to take care of somebody else's daughter, your whole family?
Yes.
So it sets like a minimum benchmark kind of thing. And at the same time, on the other spectrum, maybe more from an Islamic point of view, remove as much friction as possible, promote the halal option so that people do not sway into the non-halal option. Notice my choice of words.
Why?
Because to say haram is haram.
Non-halal.
So what is the good balance? And of course, obviously, for every family, every couple, and this one is two families merging together. It's not just about the guy and the girl. It's their families getting involved, right?
Yeah.
So what is a good balance? Who is to say this is the market rate? So the term market rate itself is like a
debatable.
Oh, you selling off your daughter?
Yeah.
But then why is there even a market rate?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's just a hadiah. Hadiah is tengok ikhlas hati lah. Tak payah cakap. You don't have to dictate the price lah.
Yeah.
You know? No, my daughter NUS grad, you think what? Calang-calang orang
do you know that? Okay, suddenly this it jolted a memory because there's actually such thing at that point in time. I don't know now whether the Hantaran calculator.
What?
Yeah. So right, I actually like. Yeah.
So what? How much do you calculate your value?
I was about. Tak nak cakap lah.
Cepatlah cakap. I want to see.
At that time,
I want to see whether the men of Singapore can afford Okay, what's the value?
It's not a one.
This is like football transfer fee. Oh my god. Okay, come.
It was so interesting because I remember I was in NUS, so we were like, I think I took some gender modules, so we were discussing this lah. So anyway, there were like a few questions that you had to answer. Like, so the factors that were taken into consideration were things like education level,
faculty. No, whether you're science faculty, arts and social science.
This is not an NUS thing.
Oh, then?
It's not. It's just that we were like appalled that such a thing exists.
I imagine.
Because it's basically you are, how do you say, like putting into science, like basically coming up with a methodology to calculate your hantaran money.
I want to know whether it was a man or a lady who came out with this calculator.
No idea, but okay.
I don't think it was a man.
Don't
Nor
be so
can
sure.
I confirm it's a lady.
Yeah, precisely. Like I don't know. So they asked like, oh, okay, how old are you?
You're the only child.
What, like how much you earn? Is it? And then, this is not nice at all. Are you a virgin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were some of the factors like taken into consideration. So after you have like filled in these fields, then an amount will pop up. Like, ta-da, can you imagine? Like, as a woman, so objectified.
I just want to let the audience know the links can be found in the description. Description below.
Actually, I'm really very interested to know if this still exists. That's number one. If there's an updated
so at that
version
point
of
of time, without considering inflation, what was the value?
My value?
Yeah.
So you want to objectify me on... I was what? 10 ke 12 about there.
10 ke 12?
Yeah.
Oh.
10 to 12k.
So expensive,
yeah. But I don't know.
But that time, if masters, how much?
I don't know. I never play around with it. Oh, like masters, then berapa?
PhD? Because I got PhD, you know.
Nobody's marrying you.
Oh yeah.
It should be yours.
I wanted to say poly halfway drop out, but then. Hey, hello.
Because you're the man.
Hello, excuse me.
What?
For the Indian community,
yes, I know.
there is a value to the man.
Okay. You mean in our community, men no value? But yeah, can you imagine? There's a calculator for me to like calculate how much you are, you know.
At least you know your X value, rough valuation lah. How about reason transacted?
Valuation.
What's the reason transacted in your area?
So funny. You should
Sorry.
do a triangulation.
Sorry. Did they indicate what's your COV? all cash ah?
All cash, no
Cannot use CPF
ah? At that time you want to get married, never like kerja pun tak.
If can use CPF more people can afford. Wasted yeah.
Oh my god, this is
try write into CPF.
I'm trying to get married. Yeah, so
but you don't be surprised. The prices go up and up and up like the prices of property in Singapore. Tomorrow people are using CPF to pay for hantaran.
I because I'm not in this conversation anymore, like deciding how much hantaran money is. So I'm not updated because I remember when I wanted to get married, it was such a hot topic. In fact, very interesting. I went to a talk once. I cannot remember who it was by, but it was by an overseas lecturer, like Islamic scholar. Yeah. So somebody actually brought this up. Somebody asked, what do you think of this practice of hantaran? You know, of like basically macam in a way, I mean this person, the way he or she put across the question was already a bit biased lah. I felt like, you know, it was,
somebody like me lah.
Probably it was you asking that question because it was anonymous. But I loved how the way he answered it. He said, "I'm sorry, I'm not from this culture. I cannot comment on this." So basically, he didn't want to give like a religious ruling on it. Oh, it is haram for you to sell, you know, your daughters like that. So I thought that was very beautiful because good adab is taking into consideration a society's culture. You know, how I'm not saying that it was okay at that point. That was totally okay. But this concept of hantaran did stem from something like what you said. It was like, you know, are you to not test, but to see if there was readiness. And of course, financial ability is one of the indicators. Of course, there are other things. But it is definitely, you need money to survive, you know. So yeah, I thought that was a beautiful response by a leader in our, you know, religious circle. So if you know, he can extend that compassion, he has modeled that compassion, I think that it's imperative for us to, you know, follow.
It's very interesting.
Example, right?
Just a small note. When I was like raging at that point of time,
yes,
the hantaran amount is a much higher amount than the actual compulsory mahar. In the mahar, people just give a smaller value to it. Sebetuk cincin.
Yes.
You know, or $100 mas kahwin, which is the mahar, right? But that is the more important thing. So if there were any like indication of can you afford, it should be on the mahar, not so much on the hantaran, which is optional. Right? But people don't give the importance on the mahar, the mas kahwin they call it, but so much importance on the optional hantaran portion.
Like I say, it was definitely cultural, but I believe where these cultures, I mean, it might be at that point in time macam terpesong sikit, but I've always believed that cultural norms stem from needs, you know, to fulfill a particular need in that society. So I need to prove something. Maybe, you know, it's
Make
just
it sound like buying a house,
to qualify you lah, basically. You okay ke tak? Because, okay, I remember at that time, very hot lah, very young, you know. One of the discussions were, actually mahar ni, tak payah kasih apa-apa. No, listen. That's not the end of it.
Oh, okay.
If you can recite the Quran, have you heard of this?
Yeah. Then that will be the mahar.
Yes.
Dan tak payah hantaran lah.
Yeah, you know, and then I was just like, betul apa? I mean, like, qualifiers, we talk about qualifiers like money is only one of it lah. So one of it is knowledge, it's like your basically the assumption is that if you could recite the whole Quran.
Serious? In one sitting?
I don't know whether it's in one sitting lah. Rasulullah did it. But
is it?
I'm not sure. I don't want to be cancelled again. But it is the assumption that if you recite it, you know it, you know the values, that this our holy book espouses, and therefore you are fit to lead a family, right? You are fit to start a family. So yeah, again, qualifiers. This to qualify you, because of course it's to protect the sanctity of the marriage lah. Because later on, when problems arise, then you realise, oh, actually dia tak cukup duit, dia actually tak kasih nafkah kat dia punya wife.
Yeah.
Oh, actually ilmu agama dia cetek, and that is why he's unable to make good judgments, good calls when the time calls for it lah.
Okay.
This is a wiser version of me.
Thank you so much for sharing your Hantaran and Mahar views for today's podcast. Nothing to do with property at all, but actually
just now you said that
the
Hantaran
woman
is like valuation.
Yeah, because people put importance on the Hantaran, but the Mahar, the actual option fee, people don't give any importance.
So much for nothing to do with property.
Yeah. Okay, till our next episode. Thank you for listening, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.